Hello there, a very good morning and welcome to another edition of the Talk of the Town. Joining us this morning is Talal Rafi. He's an economist at the Deloitte Economics Institute. A very good morning, Talal, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Talal, New Year is coming tomorrow, but of course, in Sri Lanka, I can't remember the last time that we properly celebrated Sinhala and Tamil New Year with happiness in our hearts because of all the adversities that we had to face. Starting from the 2019 Easter Sunday attack. Talal, we are still suffering, especially with the harsh conditions that have been imposed on Sri Lankans through the IMF agreement. Moving forward in this new year, how do you think things will pan out, at least on the people's perspective, as to what they experience in their everyday life, being a part of Sri Lanka's economy?
Right. That's, the hardships may continue to some extent, but the hope is things are getting on a better trajectory. So we are looking forward to a better future. And if we can pass through this tough phase, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
So are things going to get worse?
Things, I think, as I or the governor said, most of the toughest reforms have already been passed. So we have gone through the toughest periods.
Right? What are these toughest reforms, Talal?
Like for example, price reflective, this for fuel, the prices have
cost
been
reflective.
Yes, cost reflective. Then the tax increases, then very high interest rates to control inflation due to the damage done by money printing. So the tough parts, but the ramifications are still going to be felt years in. But I feel there is light at the end of the tunnel. And many countries have gone through this before, like India, Thailand. They've been in similar situations. They did the correct things, and today they are looked in as sort of role models by at least certain countries like us. So other countries, repeatedly going as countries such as Pakistan and others. So if we can somehow stay this out, put up with this and get through the reforms. Like, for example, in Japan, back then when they were recovering after the Second World War, many went without having salaries for a few months. So that was like a national effort. Of course, I'm not asking anybody to do that, but so there is always like sort of hope.
No, but Talal, even in Sri Lanka, if the people are to come together, there has to be some sort of consensus. You can't have the same people who are at least prima facie responsible for the situation that Sri Lanka is in right now, coming and asking Sri Lankan citizens, look here, we messed up. So let's pay the price together.
Right.
I don't think that'll really fly with the Sri Lankan people. So with regard to the mandate that this government or those who drafted this agreement with the IMF has, that's one of the main points that is questioned by the people. And this is being used by opposing political parties when they come out and say, look here, these conditions are too harsh. This does not have the mandate of the people. Once our government comes into power, we are going to change certain things. So do you think that is possible? A. B. Is that a realistic promise?
So first thing is, it's, as I mentioned, it's very tough because we've gone in as a bankrupt nation. So a lot of powerful bilaterals like India, China and Japan are going to take some sort of a cut, whether it's reprofiling or restructuring. So they're going to make sure that we toe the line. That is one thing. What was the second?
Is it a realistic promise? Can they keep
I don't
to it?
think so, because when you look at countries such as I was talking to an economist from Oxford, so he was saying certain countries which have gone through turmoil, like Greece and others, they had repeated governments changing. Like, for example, 12 governments within a few years, 5. Then every time the opposition promises that they will change things, they come to power, they do the same thing. Then in a few months or
someone else comes.
They get out of power, then somebody else comes promising the same thing. So when you come to power, you will realize that there is no other option. So I don't think it's a realistic thing. At least I don't think we can, any party can come in and totally get rid of the IMF thing. But maybe if things change, maybe they can sort of do some sort of renegotiation or something on slightly certain terms. But as a whole, going out of the IMF, that would be a really
That would be like shooting ourselves in the foot, or a government shooting themselves in the
Yes.
foot. Talal, my final question to you, it's a bit of a tough one because we usually pose this question to legal experts, human rights advocates, on holding elections. But I pose this question to you, and I expect that you'd answer this question from the perspective of an economist. So there are many people calling for elections. There are many people calling for the mandate of the people to be known, for a government representative of the people's mandate to be appointed, or at least an opportunity for the people to express what they really feel about